E3, it's fast approaching, boys. As it gets closer, seems like the time moves even faster and the leaks flow even harder. So I did a video last week about the games that have already been announced that I'm looking forward to or hoping to see at the show. But now I want to start talking about surprises that I'd like to see at the show, specifically on the Nintendo side of things. These are the top 10 Nintendo surprises that I want to see at E3 2018. Alright, I'm just putting this one at the beginning because I've already talked a bit about my thoughts on F-Zero a couple of videos ago, specifically of what it's like to be a fan of F-Zero and hear about this potential Star Fox racing game. Yeah, I don't want to get into it again, honestly. Like, the more I've thought about it, the more it just makes me want to... It's moderately upsetting, I'll be honest with you. However, there is a bright side to a Star Fox racing game. Such a game would have to dig pretty deep for a roster of racers, so, maybe that means Crystal will be in it? Little Crystal in HD? I could get behind that. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, so F-Zero. When it comes to Nintendo's racing games, this is really where it's at. It's been far too long that the F-Zero series has been ignored. Captain Falcon is really just a Smash Brothers character at this point. He basically doesn't even exist outside that franchise. So it would be cool to finally bring F-Zero back into the spotlight a little bit. To close out last year, we got Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Nintendo Switch, which was a really good game in my opinion. It topped my list of favorite Switch releases in 2017, at least ones that weren't Zelda or Mario. Excluding those games, Xenoblade 2 was my favorite. Fun fact, Pyra is actually both of my favorite characters from the entire series. Yep, she's my two favorites. However, this isn't my favorite Xenoblade game. That title goes to Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U. This game, to me, proved just what the Wii U was capable of. A beautiful, massive scale open world for you to explore and go on adventures in. And the skells, my god, are the skells awesome. If you're not aware, about 30 hours or so into the game, you unlock skells, which are essentially these mechs, Transformer-esque vehicles that you go drive around and fight things with. It's such a great setup, too, because early in the game, you'll encounter these giant monsters that just ruin your day. So once you get your skells, you can go right back to those bastards that were giving you such a hard time at the beginning of the game and put them on the endangered species list. Such a great game. Anyway, if you've been paying attention to the sales of ports from the Wii U era onto the Nintendo Switch, they've been insane. Even Tropical Freeze has been doing great sales-wise despite my hatred for the price tag. So since Nintendo is in the market of porting pretty much every Wii U game that existed, I think this should be a top priority. May go down as a classic RPG in my opinion. Xenoblade Chronicles X may be a classic RPG one day, but I'll tell you a game that is already considered to be a classic. Mother 3. The Mother series, or Earthbound in general, is considered to be some of the best RPG experiences of all time. If you've been following Nintendo closely at all for the last several years, you've certainly seen people clamoring for an official localization of Mother 3 for the West. It's been hotly in demand for years, and I think doing something like this soon would really be two signs of goodwill coming from the big end. One, obviously, it gives people this game that already exists just an official way for people to acquire it and play it in English, but also I think it would provide a lot of relief to people who are currently freaking out about the future of retro games on the Switch. Recently, Nintendo confirmed they're not working on a virtual console for the Switch, and they have those NES games included in their online subscription, so we don't know what the hell is going on when it comes to other retro titles ending up on the Switch. Just offering up this game to straight up purchase, like on the eShop, would probably quell a lot of concerns.
Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong.
Yes, Doom 2 probably wouldn't be something that you'd classify as a Nintendo surprise, certainly not something that would be announced during their show, but I think it could end up being a big deal for the player base, specifically those like me. So, I've praised the Doom port on the Switch a bunch on this channel, was crazy impressed by how well it ran. They kept patching it, updating it, gave it the gyro controls even. Bethesda in general has been, in my opinion, one of the best third-party supporters on the Switch. But they could really put themselves over the top this year at E3. So Pete Hines over at Bethesda kind of teased the possibility of a Doom 2 reveal at E3 in a recent interview, where he said this is, quote, the hell on earth time for us with E3. As many of you may know, Hell on Earth was the title of the original second game in the Doom series from back in the 90s, and given the great reception for the Doom reboot across all platforms, giving it a sequel would hardly be surprising. However, I think this is where they could really separate themselves from the pack in terms of Switch support. If a Doom 2 is announced, I think it would probably end up making its way to the Switch, but as those of you who follow me know, I've been talking about how I'd like to see more third parties make the Switch more of a priority, and that's what I'd like to see with the Doom 2. Announce the game is coming to all platforms on the same day. Yes, none of this, oh, it's going to come out on the Switch, but like 6 months later or whatever. Simply get the game to these players on the same day as everyone else gets it, and I think people would be extremely surprised in a good way, and Bethesda would cement themselves as currently the best third-party supporter of the platform, period. A Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword remaster is something I think is only a matter of time. Nintendo remastered both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the Wii U. Just makes sense that this game would be next. Obviously, the Zelda games are all visually impressive, but bringing them into the HD era has been consistently great, in my opinion. I know there's not as much love for the Twilight Princess HD release as there is for Wind Waker HD, but I like them both. This would also give people like me a chance to play the game without motion controls. Sure, you can still include the motion option with the Joy-Cons, but, I've talked about it a lot in the past. I hate motion controls. Like, sitting alone playing video games on a Saturday night is already sad enough, Nintendo. I don't need to add swinging my arms around pretending I have a sword and shield to the list. Okay? I don't need that in my life. So that would be nice. This one, I believe, is more so a question of when rather than if. I'm sure it will happen, but at this year's E3, maybe. I'd like it to be so. I'm ready for more Zelda, honestly. Mario Maker was just too great of an idea, executed too magnificently to be left back on the Wii U and the 3DS. This game had an awesome community that made some insanely good stuff, some weird stuff. I mean, remember that Waluigi level? That's the stuff of nightmares. But now you've got all these new players on board with the Switch, an install base that just keeps rising at a solid rate. You're going to have even more people playing and making more levels. And you could easily use the touch controls on the tablet for level creation, just like people did on the Wii U gamepad. Now here's the thing. I wouldn't have this be a straight port. Call it like 2.0 or something. All you need to do is give it some more features, some more tools, power-ups, etc. But I don't know if I would do the 3D thing. When there's been discussions online about a sequel to Mario Maker, a lot of times what comes up is allowing people to make 3D levels in it. Obviously, yeah, I think that opens up, of course, more possibilities. Could be really cool. And I know a lot of people are hoping for that. Personally, though, I think the simpler 2D stuff results in better quality of levels overall. With these create-your-own-game type deals in general, I tend to fall on the side of simplicity. Complicate things too much, and I think you risk getting a lot of trash. Not saying you wouldn't get great stuff, but I think the more you complicate things, the more lesser quality content you're going to get on a game like this. So that's just my 2 cents. I would keep it 2D, but no matter what though, yeah, we need some custom Mario action on the Switch.
Nobody wants to trade insects with me, no matter how many notes I leave them.
Why am I always the one cleaning the house and picking the peaches? Where's my big fat hammock time?
So tense.
Welcome to Animal Crossing, the live game that's happening every minute of every day, whether you're playing or not.
So do you want to swap fossils with me later, or?
Rated E for everyone.
Now, I'll admit myself, I'm not the biggest Animal Crossing fan. I'm not into playing dress up, decorating the house, and crap. I'm just teasing. Seriously, people have been really thirsty to get an Animal Crossing game on the Switch. Yes, there's Pocket Camp on smart devices, but come on. Let's be real. People are tolerating that garbage at least. I don't care if you like it. It's still a basic-ass mobile game, complete with loot boxes. Ooh, yay, everybody's favorite. The real fans want a proper entry on the Switch, get all that microtransaction crap out of here. And plus, this series has been long relegated to handhelds, so there are plenty of people who've been wanting a full-on home console release, but it's been that way because the series seems to work really well on handhelds. And now, with the Switch, you get both. And this is a franchise that really stands out. Like, there's not many major titles on the Switch that you can get to scratch that Animal Crossing itch right now. I guess kind of with games like Stardew Valley, but it's not the same. Pikmin 4 is kind of a weird one, as we have been told by Nintendo that it exists in some form, but it hasn't gotten what I would consider a big official announcement, and who knows at this point what's going on with it. To give you the story, a couple of years ago, Miyamoto was teasing that, the next game in the Pikmin series was close to being completed. Given the state of the Wii U, fans were excited to hopefully get, Pikmin 4 in a seemingly quick turnaround. But that game actually turned out to be Hey Pikmin on the 3DS, a 2D Pikmin game, just what everybody wanted. Thankfully, though, he has since been pressed on the next main installment in actual Pikmin 4, and he has said that game is in the works, so we could perhaps be seeing something this year. Pikmin definitely falls under the more niche category of Nintendo franchises, but they have been pretty good about supporting it fairly consistently. Like I said, we got Hey Pikmin last year, Pikmin 3 was on the Wii U a few years before that, so I think it's safe to say we'll get that 4th entry sometime relatively soon, and the mainline games are all stellar in my opinion, making me pretty safe in anticipating great things from this next one.
Huh? What the heck is that?
It's a temporal wizard.
A temporal whatzard?
If he deep fries you, keep your distance. One bite and you'll be finished. The monster situation is quite clement.
Are you still speaking English right now?
Let me make this easier for you. Big monsters kill pit! Grr!
Ah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. You're going down, monster! monsters?
Listen to that swagger. You've toughened up nicely, Pip.
Back when Nintendo released that most recent financial report, they mentioned that the 3DS has like 10 trillion games or something like that on it, just a stupid amount. And if I was going to make a top 10 list for 3DS games, Kid Icarus Uprising would have to be on it. I thought that game was a really fun, interesting way to bring Pit into the modern era. They could have done more of like a traditional platformer or something like that with them, but they didn't. It was fast-paced, tough as hell, a great time. It had some flaws, but again, they were doing something kind of different. I would absolutely love to see them build off the groundwork they set with that title back in 2012 and do a brand new Kid Icarus game. Again, you have that solid base that they established with Uprising. I think it could be tinkered with, polished up a little bit, and you could get something truly amazing.
The cold silence of space only punctuates the feeling of death that emanates from this virtually lifeless planet. Only one thing is alive and well here. Evil.
Sorry guys, I had to do it. A remaster of all things in my number one spot here. All of you who follow me know I'm not screwing around when it comes to a Metroid Prime Trilogy collection on Nintendo Switch. With Prime 4 on the way, this just seems like a no-brainer. I was talking about how nice it is to see Zelda games cleaned up and given the HD overhaul. You think those look good? Imagine how awesome the Prime games would look like with that same treatment. The gameplay holds up, and we really don't have anything like these games in the first-person genre, even after all these years. And it's a great way to get people not as familiar with this series all caught up. And since it's already been like 9 years since the original Trilogy collection on the Wii, I think you'd have a lot of hardcore fans looking to revisit these titles as well. It needs to get done, Nintendo. And that's it. Those are the top 10 Nintendo surprises I want to see at E3 2018. Be sure to let me know what sorts of rabbits you hope the Big N pulls out of their hat in the comments. As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.